Good morning, everyone. You found us. This is Artistic Digitizer AD Skill Builder 14. We'll be hanging here for a little bit until the top of the hour. I'm Ann Hine, and welcome. I'll be turning on my comments in just a moment. Let's see what we've got here. There we go. Comments are on. Good morning, everybody. We got Janine and Terrell and Dee. Welcome, welcome. If this is your first time joining us, we hang out here at the banner for about 5 minutes. I have the countdown going so we know when to switch over. So welcome. Hi, Kathleen. Welcome. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hi, Shirley. Welcome. And Marty, good morning. We have a pretty nice day here. A little bit of blue sky. So that's nice. Hi, Sharon Ann. Welcome. And Susan, welcome. Ooh, Western Australia. Wow. Hi, Angela. Welcome. Calgary. We've got Northwest PA in the house. Very good. You know, we have the Poconos in the house there with Kathleen. I think that's where she's up that way. Oh, British Columbia. Welcome. Of course, I come from Delaware, so we've got little old Delaware here. So welcome. We'll hang out here just for a little bit longer before we get started. And if people are chiming in, that's wonderful. Hi, Diane. Hi, Camilla. Welcome from Norway. And Sean, another one from British Columbia. Welcome. And Wanda, welcome. Annika from Sweden, welcome. Oh, let's see, that was Oregon. How about Janine from Oregon? Prineville, Oregon. Where is that in relation to Portland? Where is that in relation to Portland? Hi, Joy. Diane's from, oh, we got Idaho and Florida, Vancouver Island. Marcia, welcome. And Teresa's in Connecticut. Welcome, welcome. Yep, we just have a little bit more to go, about a little over a minute. Vancouver Island. Oh, I love Vancouver Island too. Hi, Sandy and Jermaine. Welcome. And welcome, Illinois. Got people from all over. Very nice. Love it. Love it. Welcome, everyone. Toronto. Hi, Anna from Toronto. Oh, Central. Okay, you're in Central Oregon. That's where Janine is, Central Oregon. Very nice. And Marie-Lisa from France, welcome. And we have Sharon, welcome, welcome everyone. Yep, we're getting close. Georgia, hi Sabrina, welcome from Georgia. Hi Britt Marie, welcome. Yeah, so if you're new, you can give a shout out if you want from where you're from. Suzanne, welcome from Hampton, Ontario. We have Heather from Peterborough, Ontario. Janice is watching. Sabrina. Oh, I said Sabrina. There we go. Yep. And Jean is watching. Teresa. Anyone in the Phoenix area doing a road trip soon? Ooh, nice. Hi, Ann. Hi, Ann. Welcome. All right, we're getting close. Counting down. Hi, Paula from California. All right. Good morning, everyone. We're getting close. Last few seconds here before I put the camera on. We'll see what happens here. All right, so let me put on the camera. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Live with Janome, the place you go to learn tips, tricks, and how to create projects with the Artistic Digitizer software. I'm Ann Hine. I'm the embroidery software specialist for Janome. So welcome today. We're going to be covering quite a few things. This is Skill Builder 14. And if you're new, we've been doing skill builders since the beginning of the year. So on our page that you're on right now, at the top, there's a tab that says guides. All the skill builders are in there in the guides area, and you can go in there. I do a class notes with each one, and I did post today's class notes, so you can print those out. But I suggest to everyone to print out all the class notes and then keep them next to you, and then when you're looking for something, you can look at the class notes and figure out which video you need to watch, because typically what's on the class notes is what's in the video, though sometimes people ask a question and I add things, so there might be some extras in there, so you never know. But welcome to the page. Be sure to let us know where you're watching from. We're always excited to hear that and see where everyone's coming from. I do have a lot of things to cover today, some exciting stuff. I was waiting on one more announcement, but they haven't given me the go-ahead yet. But I'm gonna hint about a few things today, so you'll all be exciting. So let me see what's going on over here. I do have my iPad up, so I do check over here from time to time. And if you ask a question, I'll answer it here. And if I miss it, you can post it again. If I totally miss that, you can post it to the page. But once I get done with the video, I go back in and I answer questions and I do things there. So typically we get you covered. So, but welcome. I don't know if we have some new users out there. We have any new people out there? If you're new to the software, just chime in with new. That would be great to know who's new with the software. We have quite a few people on our page. We're over 5,000 now. And we have users of all levels, which is really wonderful. We have brand new people just starting out, and we have our seasoned users, our embroiderers that really know digitizing, and everything in between there. So I love that part of it. We all share. And if you're new, go through the page and look at what's happening. We just had something posted really cool to make those like fluttery wing things. And I don't know what to call them, but I don't know. So one of our members explained how to do it. And then last week in the Create It, the AD Create It, which is on Thursday, I'll talk about that in a moment, I showed you how to do that too. So I kind of reviewed it with you so you can find it on the page. And people have been experimenting with that. So it's lovely. So everybody's been doing some really, really wonderful things. Keep that up and post. If you have a question, post a question. If you have a project that you just finished, post your project. If you want to explain what you did, that's fine too. Or you can just post it. If you have a question, a lot of times when you ask a question, it's good to know if it's software specific, let us know if you're on a Mac or a PC. And if you can put in a screenshot that shows your whole screen. And I'll tell you why, because sometimes when I'm trying to answer a question and people they say, oh, I can't get this to work. Part of it is if I can see your whole screen, sometimes I know either something isn't selected or something is selected that shouldn't be selected, and that would help us kind of decipher what's going on. So the most information you can give us, the better we can answer your questions. And we have a lot of people that will answer our questions, even our developer. We have our developer that hangs on here too. And you can check the guides. The developer posts some particular videos on topics, single topics, and they're all in there by topic. All the videos I did last year, they're called live videos. Those ones are all in there, and then lots of other things. So check the guides out. Tons and tons of information for us on the page. And you can also do searches by hashtag and a word, because I do a lot of hashtags. So if you're looking for knockdown stitches, those are the stitches you put under your embroidery when you're working with towels. That's called, you can do hashtag knockdown and don't leave any spaces. So that's how that works. All right, so I'm just like babbling on and on here, and but I just wanted to cover a little bit of that too. So if you're new, all that part of it. So let me look at my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. So this is what's going on. We have I mentioned this last Thursday. This is my big announcement. I did mention it last Thursday. But Janome has the main Janome Sewing Machine Facebook page. Then we have a classroom page, and we have and it's actually a classroom group, but most of us call it a page, but officially it's a group. And so this, the Artistic Digitizer Facebook this is actually a group, but we call it a page. We are going to be doing our lives over there on the Janome Sewing Machine page on Thursdays. So instead of doing my Create It on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm going to be doing one at 3 p.m. over on the Janome Sewing Machine page. So go over there and check that out. That's all. They will post the schedule for the week. That's where all the educators will be doing, the educators and makers will be doing their videos. And we sort of have them set up on Tuesdays. I think we're going to be doing tips and tricks on Tuesdays, I think, and they're all at 3 p.m. Wednesday, maybe like a more hands-on project type one. Thursdays is AD all the time, so it's all me all the time. So I get a whole day every week for me. And then Friday, they have some special things planned for Fridays. So our makers and our Janome educators will all be doing their videos there. And I will move my Thursday one, instead of doing it here with you guys, I'll do it over there. But I will link it to the page so you'll find it in the guides. Now, for Tuesdays, I'm going to continue with Tuesday with the Skill Builder for a little bit through April and May, because there's some exciting stuff going on just in those 2 months. So there'll be some flexing going on. So as we get further into April, I'll be able to give you the schedule a little better. Next week, I'm going to be away, so there will not be a Skill Builder next week. I have to be away, so I will miss all of you. But what I plan to do as we go forward, I will always have my Thursdays, and we'll be having the Create It there. I may be doing some Skill Builders every other week. And then on Tuesdays, I'm going to pop in and do maybe a question and answer session. I may bring up something, maybe I'll demo something that someone posted to the page to how to do it. So that'll be kind of our flexible day, our flexible and fun day. So I'm trying to figure out a name for that, like Impromptu with Anne, or Questions and Answers with Anne. So if you have some ideas of how we can change up our Tuesdays, that's what we're going to do a little bit there. So, and that's going to stay at 11 a.m., I believe. I'm going to keep it at the 11, but Thursdays are going to go to 3 p.m. over on the Janome Sewing Machine page. And that is really exciting because we're going to be more part of the family, which we are part of Janome. So now we're going to be, I'm very excited about that we're really part of the family. So let me check over here to see if there's been some comments. What else is happening over here? If anybody has any comments. Oh, we're all good. Looks, oh, good. Rachel doesn't have the software yet, but trying to learn as much as she can. Well, welcome. This is the place to learn it. This is the place to come see what's going on with the software. And also check on the page, take a look at some of the videos and all of that, so you get a good idea of what the software is. And I'm sure people will give you their comments on the software and how much they love it. And everybody takes their own route to learning the software. So I try to tell people, don't struggle. If you have questions, post it. We can help you get over that part of it. It's not as hard as we think it is. Sometimes I do that. I make it hard for myself sometimes. All right. So I've talked about the announcement for Thursday, and I'm just going to double check here and see if I got another thing. Nope, they haven't told me yet. All right. So this Thursday, since I can't announce it today, this coming Thursday on the live at 3 p.m. on the Janome Sewing Machine page, I'm going to make a big announcement that something's happening. Ooh, I'm so excited. I wanted to tell you guys a little today, but I can't. Anyways, so I think that's all the catch-up stuff I have to tell you. I'm trying to think here. I told you about Tuesday. I'm not going to be here next week. And then I'm going to be Thursday over at the other page at 3 p.m. And I'll post the little thing so you know where to go to find me over there. All right, so let's get started with our topic today. I did post that we're going to talk about the properties and the color tabs. So I'm going to go to the software in just a moment. And also someone posted like a quick note, or just let us know of something that is really cool. If you have one of the other cutters out there, now we have the Edge cutter, which connects directly with our software, and there's some other cutters that work directly. These are digital cutters that work directly with the software. But someone posted if you have another brand and you need a JPEG or a PNG to take over there, how you can do that. And I'm going to show you where that is. And I'm also going to talk to you about other ways to, if you need an SVG file, how you can take your piece and export it as an SVG. So the options that you have for working with your pieces at with other cutters. All right. Let's see what else is going on over here. Make sure. Oh, it's freezing in England. Oof. It's nice here. Let's see. Make sure I haven't missed anything. All right, so we got everybody. All right, so I'm going to go to the software and start the little presentation, and then I'll come back at the end. I'm taking questions through the whole thing, so no problem there. And I'll try to take a breath so there'll be some room for questions. All right, so let's go and look at the software. Here we go. And let's get that. There we go. Now we're on the software. Yes, Anne's mentioning the Brother Scan and Cut. Yep, you can use the export. Okay, so here's a question from Teresa. It says, bought a new MacBook Pro and will need to load the AD software to it. Don't have CD player on it, so do I need to contact Janome? No, you don't need to. What you need to do is, if you don't have a CD reader on your computer and you don't have an external CD drive, what you can do is you can go to the Janome Global page, and there's a under software downloads or updates, there's a line there that says Artistic Digitizer installation for those that do not have a CD drive. And then you can go there, and that's the most current version of Artistic Digitizer. And you would download that version. There's instructions there. So you would want to, I always just tell people, print out the instructions and then download it. It tells you how in the instructions how to extract it. In the extraction are more directions, so print those out. And when you go to it to load software, you can put our software on as many computers as you want, both Mac and PC. That's what I have. I have one on my PC and I have one on my Mac, but I could put it on others. When you go to install, you do need to, on your original computer, you need to close the program and log out of the key. All right. And if you're on a Mac, when you click on the key, it gives you show or quit. You want to go to show. Okay. Quit just clears the key off your screen. You want to go to show and then log out. Then you can go to your new computer and you can follow the instructions to load the software onto your new computer. And when that all comes up, you get all done, you'll have a new key, you'll put in your activation code, all that stuff from your original. Then when you switch back and forth, the process to switch back and forth is always, number one, close your software. And number two, open the software key and log out. Go over to your other computer, find the software key, open it, and then click on activate, and then launch your software. That's how you go back and forth. Now, sometimes if you have your computer sitting right next to each other, give everything a moment to take its time to follow through the system, because you may get a notice on where you're trying to go that it's not ready or it won't open yet. So give it a moment and you'll be able to do that there. The other thing is, it's important. I always tell people it's important to please register your software. And if you go to your help menu, which is at the top, I know you can't see it on mine, but when I get this drop down, I know you can see the drop down. Right here, it says register. So make sure you register your software. This helps our developer and Janome. If you should have some catastrophic issue or other issue, they can help you by finding your software through the registration process. Okay, so that's helpful to do that. I'm taking a peek over here to see what's happening over here. Sitting here with the manual, is there a page I can go to for the manual? Rachel, is that what you're asking? I'm not sure. Ask it again. Sitting with the manual, is there a page I can go to? One of the best things when you're new with the software is to really go through the Skill Builder series and start with Skill Builder 1, because I started out this year doing Skill Builder. All of last year, I sort of did more project-based, a little bit of learning, but it wasn't maybe in an order. And this year, I'm trying to be a little more orderly with the Skill Builder. And then on the Thursdays, I was doing the Create It, which is more project-oriented. So go start back with number 1 in the Skill Builder and work through there. It shows how to set up your welcome page, which I'm on right now, how to set your machine and hoop here, your fabric. It goes through a lot of things and explains where everything is. So that would be very helpful if you went and did that. All right, so I always suggest that to our new people is watch those videos so that there. Now, Jackie's asking, what are your thoughts about connecting your embroidery machine directly to your computer, or do you recommend another way to transfer design, say a USB? I do because I have a 15,000, I can go by Wi-Fi, so I do Wi-Fi. I've done direct connect with the cable, and I've also done USB. So it just depends on my mood that day or what I'm doing. Sometimes my machine isn't on, so I'm working at my computer and I'll just load it to a USB stick and take it over there. The thing with a USB stick is it's just a transfer device. Please don't store your designs on there. Always when you're creating, make sure you save as a draw file. And you'll notice on my screen, some of these say draw files. That is your editable format. That's the one you want to start with to go back to. Say I make one and I want to go back to one and make an adjustment, I would go to the draw file. I don't want to go to my Jeff file. I really don't, and I have some Jeff files down here. I don't always save a Jeff file. I just because that's the way I work. Most of the time I have my computer open and I can go to my draw file and then save it as a Jeff and take it to my machine. Sometimes you can't always do that. Maybe you're working and you save your Jeff, you save your draw, you're done, but you want to put it as a Jeff because later on you just want to pick that Jeff up and take it to your machine. You don't have to open your software in those cases. All right. So, yeah, so Paula says, I love transferring through the cable. Now, when you transfer through the cable, it goes into on a Janome, it goes into this section that says, on the embroidery side, it goes into it says built in, or there's a little sewing machine that's considered like built in. And there's always a little guide at the top that tells you how full your area is. So if you're starting to fill up your memory in your machine, you can just delete things because you always have them in your computer, and you should be saving things in your computer to a backup drive or a cloud device or Dropbox, things like that. So if you have a catastrophic fail, you don't lose everything. And don't think it doesn't happen because I've been through that too. So that's what you want to make sure you're doing. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what someone posted about saving or finding a JPEG or JPEG or a PDF for your for a cutter. So let's go in here and I'm just going to make it. Well, actually, I think I will. I'm going to open up a design. We'll open up this guy. He's already, there he is. So he came in, he stitches. Now, if I wanted to send him to the cutter, one thing I would need to do is I'd need to turn my techniques on and turn on cut and okay. And I'd have to come over here, make sure I've selected him. Let's select all of him and go to outline and select cut. So now I have my cut file selected and I'm just going to, there we go. So I know I could send it to a cutter if I want to. But if I didn't have the artistic edge or a cutter that connects up, what I could do is I could go to print, and not only just for cutter purposes, but what I could do is I could go to print and this is my print window here. I'm trying to put it so I can have the design and the print window at the same time. And when you do that, over here on this side, maybe I can make this come in. There we go. Make it a little bit less room here. Here we are. All right. So here's your print window, and it gives you, because everything over here is clicked, it's going to give you all this information on here. And I've done a video on this already, so I'm not going to go too much. But if I select design only, it's going to put it like that. It's still 100%, it's full size. And I could put the start point on there. And that is the start point of my design, and not necessarily the center of my design, and I'll show you why. Up here under my printer, if I do the drop down, here's your PDF or your JPEG. So if I needed to save it as a JPEG or a PDF to take it to another cutter, because some cutters need a certain format, easily I could do that. If I wanted to send this to a customer, a picture of what we're working on, I could do it that way. So you could take it that way. So you could work with your piece that way. So here is my design. I want to show you one quick thing before we go. I'm just going to move them up here in the hoop. I'm going to go back to the print window because I want to talk about that, the crosshair. The crosshair is not the center of your design. The crosshair, because see, my design is not in the, over here is my hoop, and that design is not in the is not in the center of my hoop. This crosshair is for the start point. There it is. So the start point of my design, this is center hoop. So that when I turn my machine on and I have my hoop on, it's going to come here first, and then it's going to go to wherever the software has decided the next part of my design is. This is your alignment tool. All right. This is for alignment to the crosshair in your hoop. All right. And it's also considered your start point. Our design starts center hoop. All right. Now, so there's that. The other thing you can do is over here under File, you can do Export. And here you have the option to export as SVG. So if I wanted to do that, I would hit Export. It's going to bring up my window, and I would save it as an SVG. All right, and it says Export to SVG. And that's, I could put the name up here and all of that. So that takes care of that. The other thing, let me cancel this, is if I took this to my cutter, and I come up here to File, Export to Cutter, you'll find some more options here. Right down here are more file formats. So you may have a brother or something that takes, I don't know which ones take these other formats, but you have those other formats that you can save, you can export your design in if you need it for your cutter or for whatever you're working on. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you out on that part of it. And you'll have to look through the skill builders. I know I did something on the print window before. I think I played with that just a little bit more there. All right, so let's move on down. I'm going to go over the color menu first. So I'm going to select my design, and I'm going to go over here to colors. So your property window, I have a little extra window I have to keep moving to keep it out of my way. Your properties and your colors sit over here on your screen. Now, if they're not falling there or they're not there, you can right click up here in this gray area and turn them on. You can also go to View and find them there, toolbars, and you could turn them on there. And there's some shortcuts too, if you wanted to use those shortcut keys. So if they disappear or you close them, that's how you open them. They dock over here, or they can dock across the top. And it's sort of a dance. I always tell people when they can't get their properties in the right spot, when you unhook this, you have to kind of slide it around here and figure out where it's going to go, and then it'll kind of fall into place. It's a little bit of a dance that you have to do. with that. So on the color window, it's pretty simple. Up here are the different brands that are in there. Now I have only, I've chosen only a few for my defaults here. I don't want all of them there. And Janome is my default one. So whenever I open it, my Janome colors will come up. So you can pick yours. Now we don't have every color brand, every brand of thread in there. And if there is a brand that you would like, you can, I know I showed it earlier, the how you can contact Draw Stitch. So you could actually send information to Draw Stitch if there's a color list you're looking for, and they can see about putting it in a possible update. I can't say for sure, but you can change right here. Now I've picked just a few of these to show in my list, but up in your tools and no, actually in, let's see, where are we? We got to go in the options. And for here, it's a little different. I think it's in preferences. It's in here that you can look at your palette order and pick the palettes that you want to show. So on a PC, it's under Tools. On a Mac, it's under Artistic and Preferences. There we go. And let's go back to because I changed things. Let's go back to that. All right, in here I can search for a color or a color number. So if I knew I wanted 242, I could do that. If I wanted blue, I could put blue, and it would bring up all the blues in that you pick up all the blues in that color format. So let's see, Lizette, you're having, it might be your screen. If you're on Safari, sometimes Safari does that. It's not always clear for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's that weird thing with Safari. All right, so these little tabs over here, this means the view of what you're getting down here. So right now we're on lines, so we'll get the number, the name. This is your part for the outline, of course, the pencil, and the fill. If you do this, you just get these color chips. Some people like that. And when you hover over them, it'll give you the color number, and that's the pencil in the top left, and that's the fill in the bottom right. So pretty easy to change things up this way too. And I don't need him to be all black, so I can undo him. There we go. So that's the color menu, and that's how you could work with it. I love the search feature in there. I don't use it as much as I should, but it's easy to find colors and work with that way. Yeah, I'm not sure on other cutters. So Sally has a comment on cutters. Oh, and you're using Chrome, and it's a little better. Okay, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. Maybe other people could chime in and say what they have their favorite cutter and what they like. Oh, here's a thing. You can use PNG to SVG.com to change things over. So you can't search with Sulky. Let me see. Do I have Sulky chosen here? Here's Sulky. Oh, you know why? Because Sulky doesn't name their colors. So that's why you can't look by color. You'd have to know the color numbers. They don't have the, even when I hover, it just gives me a number. So Sulky doesn't have names with their colors, apparently. All right. Now, I gotta remember one, I want to tell you a little thing at the end too. Another little announcement. And I'm checking one more thing here before we move on. All right, so that's our color menus. Hopefully that'll help you out with using that. I'm going to talk another time about using the color manager over on the left-hand side, and a little bit about using this is your used colors down here at the bottom, and using the used colors. See, I think that's coming on, it might be on your end with um, your internet. It could be that part of it with your internet. Because on this end, everything, I have all my bars. I'm watching it on my iPad and I can see it clearly. I can't hear it because I'm not, I don't have the sound on there. That would be too distracting. So let's talk about properties. That's what we were going to talk. That's our big topic for today. And on your worksheet, on your class notes, what I did is I went through and took a screenshot of the different property windows with, like we started with fill, and what options you get when you have satin chosen. And I wanted you to be able to see with the screen clips that I did, each one of these, because we have different fill types up here. So we have satin, we have step, and you can see down in here, these things are all changing. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this guy here, and I'm just going to go back to a plain shape. So as you go through, you can see you'll get different tools with each of the different choices of fill types. Now, there are videos on each of these fill types, and I suggest that you take a look at those. Those are all the videos on the welcome page. I'll scoot over there really quick. Over here, there are on the properties and on each individual fill type, there's a video. And they're only about 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 at the most. I would suggest that you look at those, take a peek at those, because it will help you understand some of the information that's down in here. Okay. And we've played with several of these. We were just playing with the array fill last week. This is where I can pick one of these and insert, and it will fill my item. And once I fill it, look, I have even more items down here to play with. So this is the whole thing I've said all along. One thing with Artistic Digitizer I like a lot is it only gives you the tools that will work with what you're doing. So you don't have tools that aren't going to work for you. So and the other reason I wanted to put the little screenshots here is so that you could see where the information is. So if you are looking for a certain tool, you can see what's highlighted at the top, and then you can see what tools are there. So hopefully that will help you. Dolores, when you can't find your designs on your 500E, there's a video in the guides called Ladies of the USB. So you can actually do a search hashtag Ladies of the USB, all one, and watch that video. I talk about finding the designs, where they are, and how they're on your USB. So that would be most helpful for you to see. Oh, we got a busy household over there at Ann's house. All right. And you can watch this from the start. Yes, when it's all over, it'll be on the page, and then I'll be saving it to the guide, so you'll be able to find it in there. All the videos are that way. So let's go through. We're going to look at satin for just a moment. And when I pick satin, I can give my satin, I can use some of these satin stitch fills. These aren't really kind of made for this, but you can make some interesting fills this way too. You can give your satins a pattern. When you have a very wide satin, this is very wide, you wouldn't want to stitch this because this is, let's see, this is like 5 inches or 3 inches wide here. So your satin stitch would be 3, and your machine might not even stitch that. It would go, take a stitch here and go, and go, and there very slowly. So you could put a pattern there like this. I'm going to move that in, and you would now have smaller stitches there in your satin. So you'd still have a satin look, but with a pattern. And there's quite a few different ones that you can try. They do different things. And of course, you can use your stitch flow tool to move your patterns around. and get different looks that way too. Okay. So that's something to think about when you're working with satin. Let's see, make sure we don't have anything we're missing here. Yeah, yes, the nerve. He's using up all the bandwidth. I know, really. Hey, give it back. We're busy here. So down here, you can change the density of your piece, and the density is how close the threads are together. You can change your length. Sometimes your length and your density need to be changed together. That's the length of your stitch. And then down here, this is everybody, we forget that this is here. This is your compensation. Now, compensation is sort of the push and pull of your embroidery design. You know, when you do a design and you stitch it out and it doesn't go all the way to the edge. So it kind of pulls. So this is where you could increase your compensation to give your space, your stitch is more room to be in there. You can make them bigger to fit that space. So compensation, what changes compensation is the thread you're using, the thread tension, your the machine speed. So if you're having issues with that, I would slow my machine down, and your fabric choice along with your stabilizer. Those are all going to make differences with the compensation. And sometimes I like to start with some other things before I start messing with the embroidery part of it. Maybe I didn't choose the right category for my fabric. Maybe my tension on my machine, I could change my thread tension and that would adjust it right there. Maybe my bobbin, maybe I have a really tight bobbin in. You know, Janome has 3 different bobbin cases. Many of us like to use the yellow dot because it does pull a lot of thread to the back, but that's a tight bobbin tension on the yellow. So maybe the red one would ease it up and not pull so much. So those are some things to think about. And I'll show you here. I'm going to make a little sample and show you compensation a little bit so you can see how that works. So here's my little shape here, and I'm going to make it a satin shape. And I'm going to zoom in, and I'll just click off of it for a minute. So it has the satin in here and an outline, so you can see the black of the outline. The other thing I'm going to change is I'm going to put this on manual so we can see stitches. So now we can see some of our stitch points, and I can go to view and turn off 3D. Let me put this on optimize and see what we get here. I want to get more stitch points. There we go. So now you can see my stitch points. So this purple, this is the black outline, and my stitches are just over the outline, which probably is okay. But let's look at compensation. When I change my compensation, if I made this, see how it moves slightly, and maybe make it bigger. And I'm using, there we go. So you can see how the stitches have moved out here now beyond my outline. So possibly if my stitches were being drawn up and I wasn't going all the way to the space I was leaving for that embroidery, I could increase my compensation. It would make this wider and it would fit in a little easier. You have to, some of what you have to, right, changing your compensation, the software only let you go so far. This is very smart software. It makes a lot of choices for you, and then it allows you only to go so far with it, so you can't go so far out of whack that it's, not good. So one thing I would suggest is that you make some little shapes and you stitch them out and you change the compensation so you can see exactly what it's doing. And if you have an embroidery that you're having an issue with, play with the compensation and, stitch it out and see what's going on. The other thing that sometimes people have trouble with is they do not have their fabric secured in the hoop well enough. And if your fabric isn't secured, it is going to draw in. So you could have, if you have a satin stitch or a fill and then an outline afterwards, well, that fill stitched first, so it drew the fabric in, and then the outline stitched, and it's not going to match. So it's really important to have proper hooping, proper stabilization, and making sure your fabric is secure in the hoop, whether it's secured into the hoop rings itself, whether you have it basted down, whether you use a sticky stabilizer or a spray, or even those, they have the ones where you can attach, iron them on. You can use that. Some people will put an iron on there to hold it nice, and then they'll use maybe a tearaway stabilizer when they go to hoop. So the fabric is now stabilized. It's not going to be moving itself because it has the iron on there. So there's a lot of that to take into effect when something isn't right. Everyone wants to say, oh, first of all, it's my machine, it's not working. Then it's the design is bad. Well, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's what we've done before we even got there. So we have to kind of take that into consideration on there. So, and then someone mentioned underlay. So let me undo this here, and I'm going to talk underlay. Let's go back to view and 3D. There we go. So on underlay, that's down here, and I'm going to undo. When you unclick this, it goes back to your normal. Underlay, there's several different underlays under here, and you can choose which one you want. It depends on what you're doing. Sometimes it's the fabric you're choosing. You might want a different underlay under there. So right now, to see the underlay, you would have to go to slow redraw for this piece. Let's go to slow redraw, and I'm actually going to bring it back here to the beginning so you can see it stitched from here. So this one has a single line as it goes around, an outer line has an inner part, and then it finishes up out here because I have a pattern under there. But if I switched my underlay, maybe, and I'm going to zoom back this way so we'll be able to see it. Right now it's doing a zigzag plus, so it has a little bit more to it. Maybe I do what if I chose a single line? What does that look like? So over here in slow redraw, let's bring it back. Let's come back here. So it's a single line, but it's also part of the design is use this inner part. So it's doing that in there. Let me make another shape. Let me get another shape here. And we'll select it. So here, because I'm using a step fill, I have different types of fills, or what are these, of your underlays also. So you can play around with those and take a look at them. What's interesting, let's make this a satin. Actually, I want to make a narrow shape like this. And I'm going to make it a satin. There we go. What's interesting with satin ones, and you go to underlay, we have some 3D, and I've talked about the 3D ones before. The 3D ones, if you want a plump satin, you can use the 3D, and what it does is it puts a row of stitches underneath your satin, and it builds it up. So if we went with the 3D, and then I went over here to slow redraw, let's see what we've got here. I'll let it run. So it's going to go around like this, and it's going to do some in there. It's going to do a row like this, and it's slowly building up the 3D look. Now, one of the things you have to remember when you're using this, and depending on the shapes that you're working with, if you're working with letters, because it builds up, some of our machines have auto presser foot tension, auto presser foot lift. So as we're embroidering, it adjusts for us to keep the pressure. You always need to, your presser foot always needs to have a certain amount of pressure on it to keep your tensions closed. So when you're working with the 3D effect, sometimes if you stop your machine and stop it and then start again, it will adjust that presser foot pressure for you as you go through your 3D. I did some lettering with this, and that's when I noticed at sometimes that I didn't have presser foot pressure, and then my tension would be off and I would get that bird's nest and yucky stuff. So that's something to think about. It does get very thick if you go into the very, very thick ones, but it gives you a nice plump look to your embroidery. All right, so hopefully that will help you on that part of it. All right, so let me think if there's something else on here. Same thing with outline when you're working with your outlines. Well, let's go back to fill. I didn't really finish. So each one of these, you can look on the pictures I gave you, will give you different parameters to use down here. The one I want to mention too is add short long. And let me change the view to like this if we can see our add short long. If I turn this off, will this help? All right. So add short long works good if you have a circle. Let's do this. We'll make a new one. A circle, and then I'll do, oh, that's got to be satin. Hold on. Hold on one second. Let me get to, there we go. Point direction. Let me put something in here. All right. And I'll turn off, there we go. So we can see with add short long, what add short long does is it adds long and short stitches so that all your stitches don't fall totally in the center of a ring like that. So if I took that away, all these points are going to come to one spot. With add short long, it gives us, even in here, we can, let me take this away. Even in this one, if we add short long, as it gets to the end, it'll add short and long stitches so that you don't end up with so many stitches in the same spot. Now we played with that feature. If you go back through our videos, and we did one on, this is a good example of it to see it. We did a video on creating fringe designs. You know how we have those fringe designs? So when you're doing a fringe design, you do not want any short stitches in here. You want all your stitches to come out and back, so you would have to turn off add short long. So that's what the add short long is about. And of course, you have your sequence down here of where you want it to be in your design, and then you can do your remove overlaps. So this is a great place to take a look at the videos from the developer, because you'll learn so much there. I mean, I could go through each of these, but it would take us a little bit longer and to explain each one of these, when you could easily watch a video. And gradient is in there, so you can learn about gradient. That's really, I'll be doing something on gradient too, so that'll be a lot of fun. So they do a different one on each of these. Let me put my thing back to 3D. There we go. On there. Okay, so let me see. The same thing goes for your outlines. You have different parameters for your outlines. If you're working with decorative stitches, you can mirror your stitches different ways on your piece. This one doesn't really show much because it's not, there you go. You can change the direction of your stitches that way, how many passes. You can change the length of your stitches, that kind of thing. And the width of that line on there, so it would be the width of the stitch. And you have satin serial here. Satin serial gives you the handmade corners. So if I had something that was square, let's do a square, rectangular here. And I'll click off of it, so we select it. So right now, Let's put it as satin cereal on the outside. Right now it has those nice kind of pointy corners. And if I did handmade corners, see how it changed the corners? That's sort of how we would stitch them if we were doing a zigzag. We'd go all the way to the end, turn, and we'd start our zigzag this way instead of those nice mitered corners. So you have that option. So that's something to look at, the different options that you have within each of the properties menus, and then take a look at those. All right. All right, so I'm going to put the camera back on. I think we're pretty good here. And let me get this in the right spot. And I'll put the camera back. All right. So someone just asked what the big news is. The big news is our Thursdays is going to move to the Janome Sewing Machine page at 3 p.m. So I won't be live here at 11 on Thursdays anymore. Starting this week, I'm going to be over there. And I'm going to double check because I had asked if I could make nope, I guess I have to wait till Thursday. So the big news was we're moving to Thursday on we're moving to the Janome Sewing Machine page on Thursdays at 3 p.m. And I will be making a big announcement that day about something that's coming up with Janome. That's very exciting. I can't wait. And then our Tuesdays, we're going to be changing our Tuesdays just slightly. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be posting the information on that. I'm going to keep it exciting and fun. We all know that. But next week I'll be away on Tuesday, so we're not going to have a live. Going forward, this is other big news. I did mention it last week. I will be in our new travel trailer. It's going to be, well, I'm traveling for fun, but I'm also going to be working. So it's going to be my, I call my travel trailer Rover, and our truck is Big Red and Rover. It's going to be my traveling studio. So I will be coming to you from various places across the country as we travel around. And hopefully it's all going to work. You know, I have to get Wi-Fi and make sure it's all working. That's why I did that test the other day. I went off the house Wi-Fi and I used a hotspot. So over the next couple weeks, I may be popping on from locations, trying to make sure all my equipment is working so that I can do my pieces live on the road. My lives will be really live and on the road. So that's going to be fun and exciting. So keep your fingers crossed that we don't have any issues with that. You know how technology is. I want it to go smoothly. So that's what we're going to be looking at going forward. And I'm very excited about that. I think the traveling studio is going to be a lot of fun. And we did a little trip this past weekend. We took Rover out for its first overnight. It was quite fun and we had a great time. So I'm very excited to do that. And you never know, I might be in your neck of the woods and maybe we'll say hi from there. All right, let's see if there's any last questions. We have, Costa, could you post how, if they wanted to reach Draw Stitch, if they had an issue that they, like if they have a more software issue that we couldn't handle on the page, they can contact Draw Stitch directly. Could you put the Draw Stitch address in our comments this morning for me? That would be great. And if you wanted to add a thread brand, if you had a certain thread brand that you wanted them to look at, you can post it. You can email them directly. So maybe Costas will put in the email address for Draw Stitch for us. What site will the road lives be on? Well, once I go on the road, my Tuesdays will always be here on the AD page, even if I'm on the road. Same thing with the Janome Sewing Machine page on Thursdays. Those will be live too, because I'm actually going to be on the road for like a month. So I'll be doing my lives every week on the road. Tuesdays here on the AD page, Thursdays over on the Janome Sewing Machine page. Those will be at 3 p.m. These ones will be at 11 a.m. And so hopefully, and I got to figure out time. It'll always be the same time your time change. I may have to come on. I have to watch my time changes, but those are the times. So if I'm way out west and I'm, on the West Coast time, it's still 3 p.m. that you guys will be watching it. No problem there. Oh, so Costas just posted how we can reach Draw Stitch. So you have that in here. Oh, good. I'm glad you like that. We're changing the time on Thursday. I think that'll be nice. All the stuff on the Janome sewing machine page is all at 3 p.m. It's much easier. We're trying to consolidate and make it easier for people to find stuff. That's been a little bit of the issue sometimes is, they're not sure where to go or where to find it. So majority of our stuff will be over there except for me on Tuesdays. We'll be here with you guys. All right, so you can find me Thursdays over on the Janome Sewing Machine page, which I'm excited about that because we are part of Janome. Have fun on our trip. Yep. Yeah, so I know that. I know on Arizona does not have daylight savings time. Is it saving time? I think Indiana doesn't either, or parts of Indiana, they don't. Different countries don't have it too. So whatever the time will be 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. No matter where I am in the world, that's what time it's going to be on. I may have to get up early to get to do it myself, depending on where I am, but I'm going to keep the times the same. So if you just do a search, at the top of your Facebook page, there's a little search thing. Put in Janome Sewing Machines, and then it should pop up, and you'll be able to find the page. I'm going to go to our page, and I will put out. I think I'll put a link there. Maybe I'll see how I can do it so you guys can see what it looks like, so you can get over there. And you don't. I think you might have to answer some questions, but you don't have to answer some questions. Maybe that's the class. Maybe it's the classroom page. They have you do that too. I can never remember. But go over there and join that page. There are some ways to get notifications over there. There's a little. I don't know if my videos have it. There's like a little bell for notifications. If you click on that bell, you'll get notifications of events coming up. So that's always handy. Any more questions? If there's anything else. So 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time is what, 8 p.m. in the UK? Is that what you're saying, Janice? I think I've been to that shop in Garden City. I did an event there a long time ago in Garden City. I think that's where I was, in Kansas. And I think it was Kansas. Maybe. Is it in Kansas where they had, there was a big field there when I was there, and they had all the parts for the wind farms there, like laying on the ground, the big blades and stuff. I was so excited about that. Let me see if there's anything I have to go back for. How to move my colors from top to side. Okay, so let me go back to the software on this part, and I will show you moving things around. So let's go here. All right, let's take my my properties here, and I'm going to make them go, if I can make them, or even my colors. There we go. See how they're up there now? Now I don't really want them there. So what I could do is I'd pull them off, and I drag them over to the side like this, and try to get them to dock over here. There they go. So it's sort of a dance. All right, so I'm clicking on them. I'm left clicking and dragging, and now they're going to fill in here. Hopefully my property. There we go. See, now they're half and half. I don't like half and half, so I'm going to bring this up here and get it to fill, and then there it is there. So you want to drag them off of here and make them go over there. Okay. The other thing is, if you use a separate monitor, and this has happened to me, or maybe even on the screen of your machine, you've taken your colors and you've moved them outside of your software, sort of so they're on your desk. They look like they're on your desktop. Always bring them back into the software before you close, because then they'll sometimes if you don't, I can't remember what you have to do when you open. Like I did that one time. I have a monitor, and I dragged my software off my desktop onto my monitor. I was hooked up, and I don't know what I did. I didn't drag something back, and so it wasn't, I had to do something in my computer when I got to my location to get everything to hook, to, back up. I kept saying, oh, I left it on the other screen, but it's not really on the other screen. It's just not connected to your software at that point. And that's probably not the technical word, but just make sure you have them, docked onto your software, and that's where they should be. If they're in your way, you can close them and bring them back. You don't always have to have them out. Your sequence window, you can collapse that or stick it out like that. And I don't have anything else, only 2 things in there, so that's all that's going to show. If I do manual, you'll see all the parts. So if I don't want that hanging down, I can collapse it. All right. Yeah, I've just done it. If you need to ask, okay, good. All right, let's go back to the camera, and I'm gonna say goodbye. Let's get this. Oops. Let's get this over here. Get this in the right spot. There we go. All right. So, ooh, we're pretty good on time. Perfect, perfect. All right, everybody. I will see all of you Thursday. Where? On the Janome Sewing Machine page at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I can't wait to see all of you over there. I'm going to be doing some fun stuff with the Artistic Digitizer software, sort of welcoming it to the Janome page. So we'll be doing some things you might have seen. I might be showing some samples. I'm going to talk about the software. So just letting everybody know we're introducing it over there onto the other Facebook page. All right. So everyone have a great day. Have a great week. And I will see you all Thursday. If not, I'll see you on our page. Have a great one. Bye for now.